Dum-datski-takum, 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 dum-datski-takum,
dum-datski-takum. We will be prepared to fight fire with fire. As organisers build bottom-up organisations, an important part of our work is education. This is because the haves have deliberately kept the have-nots in the dark about everything from reading to science to history. As we begin creating a new and egalitarian world, the people on the bottom will learn and master every aspect of human knowledge. People have rebelled and tried to take back the world from their oppressors over and over again for hundreds of years, so we have a rich revolutionary history to lean on. We can learn from our ancestors' successes and from their failures. Right now in this period of history, many people feel hopeless about revolution and about our ability to create an egalitarian world. Because just in the last 100 years, many revolutions tried and failed on almost every continent of the world. One reason for this is that the leaders of these revolutions did not have confidence in the genius of the people they set out to lead. They saw a separation between the leaders and the followers. Bottom-up organising strives to eliminate this separation by training the people to lead themselves and not be followers. Another reason the recent revolutions failed is that revolutionaries incorrectly identified who exactly are the haves and the have-nots. They did not notice the intimacy of economic class and skin colour. Some of them mainly paid attention to class division, and others mainly paid attention to colour or national tribal division. These were both mistakes that ended up misleading the struggle. These were the mistakes of racism and nationalism. Bottom-up recognises that class and skin colour tend to go together. Most of the haves in the world are white Europeans, or in countries of darker-skinned people they are often the lighter skinned. Sometimes they have dark skin but have the same selfish oppressive values as the European haves. On the other hand, have-nots are mostly darker skinned. Almost everywhere you can find the poorest people by looking for the people who are have the darkest skin. This is because of historical reasons, not biological ones. For the past many hundred years, Europe has been the top dog of the world and has imprinted the values and prejudices of its rulers on the world. Skin colour has become a shortcut to defining oppression. The oppressors have convinced folk with light skins that they are better than their dark-skinned brothers and sisters, and they have also convinced many dark-skinned people of this lie too. The darkest-skinned people are outcast, despised, and isolated from those who think they are better. Poor working-class white and light-skinned people are kept down and exploited too, but they are often blind about who is causing their pain and blame it on their dark-skinned brothers and sisters. Our struggle to overcome this racism will be long and hard. This is why bottom-up organisers see the need for poor, mainly dark-skinned leadership in the struggle to create a new egalitarian world. All of oppressed humanity needs the leadership of the most oppressed among us, because it is the most oppressed who can most clearly see the realities of oppression that we must overcome in order for humanity to live equally and justly and lovingly. European and European-influenced revolutionaries were defeated partly by their own racism because they did not look to the dark-skinned people on the bottom for leadership. Instead, they defined them as different, less important, and not members of the revolutionary class. These revolutionaries ended up running nations and becoming the new haves. On the other hand, revolutionaries in the colonized countries, so-called Third World, also failed to look at the bottom for leadership. Instead, they simply defined Europe as the enemy. They were also defeated by their own racism and nationalism, and they copied their former rulers by creating nations run by those with wealth and privilege, who were also usually the lighter-skinned group. They too put themselves in power, but did not put the people in power. Past revolutionaries made the mistake of imagining or creating divisions between oppressed people. Bottom-up organisers see all oppressed people as one. We see the need to build one unified international movement. We understand that it is not enough for different groups to form alliances with each other. We are all one group, the same class of people. This principle applies to all oppressed people. All over the world, our enemies have divided us into artificial groups based on race and ethnicity. We reject these divisions and see ourselves as one. Our enemies have invaded our communities and our families to divide our men from our women. This is a very deep division, and we also reject that division. Egalitarian means equality for every person. Women and men are equal human beings, and our unity and respect for one another is necessary for building our movement. Our movement defends women from sexual exploitation and slavery and from mistreatment by their families and communities, and we look to women for leadership. This was also a major mistake of past revolutionaries. They did not see the importance of female leadership, and many lifted up men as leaders. In conclusion, although we live in discouraging times, we must not be discouraged. It is true that there are more bought and sold slaves in the world today than ever before in history, 27 million. It is true that those of us who are not bought and sold are also basically slaves because we do not have the means to live without our oppressors. However, our oppressors are only 2% of the world's people. Their wealth and power, even their military might, came from us, and we can claim them back. Their rule can be broken when we unite and organize ourselves under our own leadership. Okay, thank you for listening. So hopefully that kind of gives people an idea of what the school's about and what we're doing and a bit about what we've done so far. I just want to say a bit about what we've been doing here, because we've also, we talked about the school in Venezuela and the founding of the organising school. But basically, what happened was we ended up going to Venezuela for the first session of the school, for the beginning of the school. And in discussions there with Javier and his partner Maria, we talked about the need to support their organising on the ground in Colombia and to support the organising school and try and raise funds. Because obviously if you're talking about training revolutionary organisers, it's going to be a bit difficult to get money from foundations and people like that. So we thought, okay, we're going to have to go really grassroots. So we did, and we sprang into action, like a bunch of us, Paula, Ingrid and a few other folks. We organised a series of fundraising parties. For instance, in January we had 2 parties and we joined it with No Sweat, the anti-sweatshop campaign. They let us use one of their nights, so we did an event with them. We did one at a Latin American bar in Brixton, which Paula organised with us, and we managed to raise significant money there. And in March we did one with No Sweat again with Mark Thomas, who's here as well. And he was really great, and basically that was a fundraiser for No Sweat and for us. So that was really fantastic, and Abby's going to say a bit more about the organising in Colombia, but the money from that gig particularly went to fund a residential for a community from an Afro-Colombian community to go to A Maloka and to do a kind of a reflection and development residential. So that was really, really great. Also, from the money that we raised, we published the book. We published the first ever copies of the book, which we have up here on sale. We also linked up with the Colombia Solidarity Campaign. Andy's here and he's been really, really supportive. And we've done a political education night where Andy was a part of that too. And we've been building relationships of solidarity, like we've met with folks from the Bolivia Solidarity Campaign, we've been working with No Sweat, like I said, and political poets as well, some poets in particular, Tugstar and El Crisis, who are phenomenal spoken word artists. So we've been trying to reach out and build relationships of solidarity with like-minded folks. Partly, just to say, the purpose of our organising is to kind of build support and solidarity for our organising here, for our fundraising efforts, and that's partly why we're reaching out to different folks. And we're also trying to find people who might be interested in participating in sessions with the school. For instance, the next one is in Jamaica in August. But particularly why we're selling these books and why we're having the next fundraising parties that we are, is so we can raise money to send folks who are radical organisers on the ground in Colombia that they can go and participate in the organising school session in Jamaica. And we kind of talked about this between us, and we felt like it is a part of our role as allies to revolutionary organisers here in the UK. We have a lot easier access to funds and resources, and we feel like it's appropriate and important to gather as much resources as we can and to send it to folks on the ground, for example in Colombia. I think that's probably all I want to say about the school. I don't know if you've got anything to add, but Javi's going to talk more about A Maloka, the project in Colombia, which is very much an example of the kinds of organising that ISBO is working at training people to do, and is also an important part of the ISBO network. So I'm going to hand you over to Javier. Thanks for your attention and for listening.
Okay, first of all,
Hey,